Hello all, and welcome to my channel, Tea Talks with Joe. Thank you for tuning in on this Sunday night. It's been a minute, and I took a week off to get one of our daughters situated in college, and now I am back, and we're still talking about forgiveness, okay? We're talking about forgiveness in marriages tonight. My last video was on forgiveness in dating and after the dating process. Tonight we are talking about forgiveness in marriages. Again, thank you for tuning in. We're going to jump right on in. And as you know, how we start off, this is Tea Talks with Joe. Tonight I will be sipping my tea out of oh, Key West. Little teacup that I collected while I was on my honeymoon down in Key West, Florida. But I'm excited to be back with you guys, and please like and share my video. Let's get the word out. Let's all work together so that we can conquer our thought process, our thought patterns, and start to live life even more in a peaceful manner. So tonight is forgiveness in marriage. Make sure I got my camera set up really nice here. All right, I think we are ready. So, as you guys know, I got my notes prepared, and I'm going to have my head turned while I am reading my notes, but I am fully engaged with you all as well, okay? So, forgiveness in marriage. Let's kick this thing off. All right. Ready? Let's take us a sip before we start. I got to start taking my little price list sticker off the bottom of them when I buy them. All right. So, forgiveness in marriage. This is a tough topic to discuss because when you say you forgive your spouse in marriage, you must truly forgive to reap the full benefits of the marriage. Your forgiveness cannot be sarcastic, short talking, to say I forgive you just to move on, and it can't be swept under the rug to reap the full benefits of marriage. A marriage is a covenant, a partnership, teamwork, a bond, a foundation, and a legacy. Therefore, married individuals can't play around with unforgiveness. Okay? And if they do, they risk damaging the foundation, the partnership, growth, and the legacy of their family. You really got to think about the main source of your forgiveness in a marriage. What are you believing for when you forgive? Are you believing for a future with a healthy marriage and leaving a legacy? Believe in what you desire your marriage to be in the future. Do you see love, the bond, the support, the trust, the vacations, the date nights, the intimacy, the affection, the friendship, the teamwork, the children coming home for the holidays, and the grandchildren admiring your marriage? So when you forgive with the heart of what type of foundation are you trying to have for your marriage and for your overall family. Focus on being the example and creating a legacy when you forgive your husband or your wife. That's how intense your forgiveness should be. So that just kind of was an introduction on just the importance and how intense a forgiving process should be, and the heart of forgiveness when you are in a covenant as such as a marriage. Okay. I'm going too fast on my notes. Okay. So let's talk about some examples of forgiveness in marriage. Some things that may go on that you have to forgive and go through a forgiving process. So let's talk about it. I have two examples here. There's some of the main reasons why we go through a forgiveness process in a marriage that most of us can relate to. Okay. So the first example I have here is forgiveness after a disagreement. As hard as it is, try to watch your choice of words during an argument. We all know once it's out there, it's out there. You may be deeply bothered or hurt during an argument, and most of the time, we really don't know how to put enough emphasis on how we feel. So we turn to using our words to A, express our hurt, or B, to hurt the other person. And the majority of the time, it's B, to hurt the other person, to make them feel how you're feeling as a form of a payback. You know, you ever hear some people say, I want him to hurt, or I want her to hurt the same way I hurt. But they're saying that they forgive them. Okay. Forgiveness after a disagreement deals with you forgiving yourself and your spouse. Even if you feel as if you were right in the disagreement, forgive yourself for allowing yourself to get to the point where you're attacking your spouse verbally. Forgive yourself if you process his or her response the wrong way. Forgive yourself for not listening. Okay, so the first part I'm saying during this forgiveness or disagreement is first acknowledge and forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for your part of the disagreement. Whether you were not listening, you know, you're listening to respond, you're listening and not listening to receive what your partner is saying, or you're allowing yourself to attack your partner with your words because you could have probably handled the situation a little bit better. So forgive yourself for that. And forgive yourself if you processed the information wrong, what they were saying. You know, you immediately made assumptions. Sometimes we are in so much defense mode that everything our spouse says, we take it defensive and ready to attack. Move this a little bit so I can move. We're ready to attack because we're being defensive. Find out why you're so defensive. Okay, find out the reason why you're so defensive. Work on that issue, change your thought process, and begin to listen more for understanding before responding. Forgive your spouse for the same things you forgave yourself for. Okay, so that's huge. All the things that I mentioned. Forgiving yourself for attacking them verbally with your words, forgiving yourself for not listening, forgiving yourself for processing the information that they were saying to you the wrong way. Forgive yourself for making assumptions. Assumptions. And after you forgive yourself for those things, forgive your spouse for those same things. Because the same thoughts that are going through your mind in an argument is also going through their mind. Being defensive, playing the payback game, using hurtful words, and lack of listening. Once we all recognize it's the same process in our minds over and over again, we can catch those thoughts before they happen, and we can control our body reactions before we react. So once we recognize during a disagreement, this is the same pattern going on and on. The mind is thinking of the same thing, defense mode, and we're doing all these things that we listed. If we are bring ourselves to the point to where we can catch those thoughts, control our body actions and how the way that we're reacting, because the body is signal when it's under attack. Control it before we react. Before we react verbally and before we react physically. I don't know about you guys, but when I'm getting in a defense mode, my heart begin to pound, my underarms begin to sweat, and I can feel myself getting ready to attack. Okay? So we have to learn how to control that. All right, now that's the first example. The second example of forgiveness that I have that majority of married couples deal with is the forgiveness in infidelity. Now, this is not saying that I condone infidelity. This is not saying that I am saying everyone have to stay with a partner that has committed infidelity. This example is basically about if you are willing to forgive your partner if there was any infidelity in the marriage. These are the steps that I believe that can help in that process of forgiving during infidelity. You know, because everybody's story is different. Some people can tolerate and go through that process of forgiveness and infidelity, and some people that's just a non-tolerance for them. They're out. But this is talking about the forgiveness, moving on past infidelity in marriage. Okay. Now this is a whole different type of forgiveness in a marriage because it deals with your pride, your character, your image, your trust, and your ability to be affectionate and intimate with your spouse. Infidelity can strip everything I just named from both partners. Okay, so let's recap that again. Infidelity in a marriage deals with your pride, your character, your image, your trust, your ability to be affectionate, and your ability to be intimate with your spouse. Infidelity can strip everything I just named for both partners. You see how every act in a marriage affects each party the same because the two has become one. Let's focus on the spouse that did the cheating, okay? Some people think that the cheater enjoyed every step of the cheating process. In my opinion, I believe they may have enjoyed the sexual act. However, they didn't enjoy the mental attack after the sex. They may enjoy the mental prior to, but not after the action of the sexual encounterment. Infidelity doesn't always have to involve sex. It can be in conversation, whether it's over the phone, in person, in DMs, IMs. That's still a part of infidelity. Infidelity is all about where your heart and your intentions are and where you are leading with it. So let's go back to the mental attack after infidelity. Before the secret is out, the mental attack is that person is dealing with shame, embarrassment, conviction. They're afraid. They're afraid of the risk of exposure, and they are protecting themselves, their self-image and pride. The pride won't allow them to tell their spouse or the circle of friends or people that they have around you what has taken place. Now think about the things I named that attack the mental of the person that actually done the cheating. And guess who else is experiencing the same mental attack? The spouse, the spouse that has been cheated on. So how do you think both can work on forgiving each other during this process? And yes, I said each other because when infidelity has occurred in a marriage, to move forward and full forgiveness, both have to be open to forgive each other. Most of the time, the main source of the forgiveness is accountability. And no, I'm not saying that someone deserves to be cheated on, as I discussed earlier. Cheating is a selfish act. I am talking about when each other have decided to move on in the marriage and work towards infidelity. Okay, this is all about talking about the process of forgiveness. Before we can go through the steps of forgiveness, let me say, if you are one that have been cheated on and you're wanting to work on the marriage, once you forgive, it's not a good idea to continue to make the other person pay for what they have done. If you do so, you're only stunting the growth of the marriage and you're forcing your partner away. Yes, I know you're hurt. Yes, I know that you are embarrassed, but to forgive completely is to move forward by working on yourself first. You can't heal your spouse's infidelity issues by making them hurt and feel what you feel. They have to work on them, you have to work on you, so that you both can know how to be in each other's best interest going forward. In a marriage, if each person do the individual work and focus on flourishing their spouse, work on themselves, focus on flourishing their spouse, the same energy will be reciprocated. But both have to be willing to work. Now, let's stop here. Because you can forgive someone completely and not want to be in a marriage anymore if infidelity has taken place. And you can forgive someone completely and continue on in the marriage if infidelity has taken place. So these steps and this information that I have can go for both, because some people, like I say, that's a zero tolerance for them. They don't want to be in the marriage anymore if that kind of trust was broken. That's fine. But the forgiveness is for you and also for the other person. That forgiveness is for both to be able to completely move on. That's a healing process. So it works in both ways, whether you leave or whether you stay. Okay? So let's break this down. I got some points here talking about how to know how to recognize and know that you have not truly forgave. Okay, so this is the first point. So we're going to break this down. Okay. So to know you have not truly forgave during disagreements and during infidelity. We're just going to talk about the two examples I gave. I know it's 1,000 more examples out there, but these are the two that we're going to hit on tonight. So how do you know that you have not truly forgave during disagreement and infidelity? A, you're constantly talking about it. I know that you have to address the issue with your spouse. Talking about what you're needing from your spouse is definitely a conversation that must be had. But asking your spouse details about the cheating action is not helping you to grow, and it's not helping you to heal. Like, I've known many of people that wants detail from detail to detail. They want to know, where did it take place? What were y'all talking about? Where did y'all meet? How did this all go about? Honestly, in my opinion, that's not helping you to heal. That kind of allow yourself to keep reiterating the hurt. And some people will paint a picture from the information they're receiving from their spouse about the details, and they're playing that image in their mind over and over and over and over. It's not going to help you heal, and it's not going to help you to forgive. Either way, it's not going to help you do either or. Talks about gaining trust and what things the both of you need to heal each other should be the topic of discussion. Stop entertaining your friends and family with details about the cheating or the disagreement during your healing process. You got to cut off conversations, outside conversations. Stop inviting other people's opinions in your forgiving process with your spouse. Their opinions are irrelevant. Especially when you are saying, hey, I am in this, we are working together, let's go through the healing process. Inviting too many opinions is going to dictate or have you in a different direction than what you guys decided to work on. It brings more confusion. When you stop talking about the negative, you begin to heal, and you won't be stuck mentally longer than you want to be. You have to cut out the negativity talk. So when people call you and they're talking negative about your situation, if you so-called have happened to let them in on what's going on, you got to stop entertaining those conversations. If they're talking negative, you need to try to get off the phone, change the subject, or change it into a positive manner. Negative people don't want to talk about positive stuff. They eventually will stop calling you or stop asking you about it because you're not feeding on to what their negativity is. And then some people want your experience to be their experience. So you got to watch out for that as well. Okay? B, you want your spouse to pay for what they did or what they said. So we're still talking about how you know that you're not ready to forgive or you have not truly forgave. You want your spouse to pay for what they did or what they said. You throw daggers at them to trigger them to react. You keep bringing up what they did wrong, expecting a different response or to get them to agree with you about the disagreement. You don't want them to sleep in the same bedroom. You're avoiding to give them any affection. You don't want to be intimate, and you're not 100% in the marriage, mentally or physically. You're just a body in the home, doing the bare minimum to say that you've done it. Your heart is no longer there, and you're forcing yourself to play your role as a husband or a wife in a marriage. When you have not truly forgave, it's forcing. You're really taking yourself through a process mentally and physically that's really like tormenting you because you're not 100% there. You're just going through the motions. Okay? C, you're forgiving your spouse only for the kids' sake and not for yourself. That's how you know you have not truly forgave. You're saying, I forgive you, but in your mind is I'm only forgiving them because we have children together. You have mentally told yourself that you're only entertaining and being active in the marriage for the kids' sake. You don't want your kids to grow up without mom and dad in the same household. You would rather risk your own happiness for the kids. Please understand, when you're not happy and you're not 100% into your marriage, you're hurting your kids even more than you think you are. You're teaching them that it's okay to put themselves last to suppress someone else's happiness. And when you are in a marriage for just the kids' sake, the love is not going to be shown there. The love is not going to be what it needs to be to flourish into the kids. And kids recognize that. They see the division. So never ever think that, one, you're outsmarting them by painting this picture. Because when they begin to grow up, they see there's no intimacy. They see that there's no affection, and the kids know where they are loved. Just like little babies, you wonder why they always gravitate to a certain relative. They feel that love. They always want to be under the mama or daddy, or they feel that love. So it's going to be shown either way. So if you're dealing with not full forgiveness for the sake of the kids, you need to check that. If you're going to be willing to, if you want to stay in a marriage, you got to truly forgive. Okay. And D, you start to justify your actions of entertaining someone else. So this is still talking about when you know you have not truly forgave. You're okay with entertaining someone else outside of the household. You go seeking another woman's or man's attention. You're open to exchanging numbers, conversing with someone else. You are purposely doing so. The conversations you should be having with your spouse, you're having with someone else. And you're justifying your actions behind it as if it's okay to say you forgive your spouse and they are still in the household, but you're suppressing your hurt with another woman or man. By doing this, you are inviting temptation into your home. So I think that was self-explanatory, but I'm going to say this. A lot of people would say, well, they did it. They didn't care about how the way I feel when they did this. They went and had conversations with someone else. They went and slept with somebody else. So he shouldn't be, he or she shouldn't fault me if I do the same. Well, you can't do those things, out of being hurt. And the reason why you're doing those things is because you truly have not forgiven your spouse for what he or she has done. And that's more damaging than it is of anything when you do that. Now you're all the way back to step one, trying to stay in the marriage, and now you want to go through full forgiveness because that you were doing has backfired and it has caused a more explosive situation than you expect for it to do. E, we still got a lot of steps for this, for completely knowing that you have not forgave. So we're on E. You're not willing to take accountability for your own actions. In a disagreement, you haven't truly forgave if you're still pointing all the blame on your spouse. So in a disagreement and infidelity, if you're not owning up to your own accountability, you haven't truly forgave. You know exactly where your wrongdoing is at, but you continue to program your mind to play the victim. And you make sure you call everyone you all know together to tell your side of the story. You never own up to your part, even if you had a part in the infidelity. So that works on both sides. If you had a part in the infidelity or not, guess what? You still had some part to own up for your own accountability. You are more concerned about protecting your character and your image than healing your marriage. You don't care how you make the other person feel. It's all about you and your feelings. When you do this, you have not truly forgave. And like I said before, I'm not condoning it, but I will say if you're going to continue on in your marriage, if you were not the person who did the infidelity, and there's no reason that I'm justifying or making excuses for infidelity. That's not what I'm saying. Don't take this the wrong way. What I'm saying is the person that was cheated on, there's something that they can work on within themselves to better their marriage. And I'm not saying that something caused that person to cheat. And that's why I say work on you, because none of us are perfect. There's not one perfect spouse, and then there's a spouse that's over here with the shenanigans. We all got something, whether it's small or it may be big. It may be the way you speak to your spouse. It may be that you don't show them enough attention. It may be you may not doing some things that they're desiring. You may be lazy. You may have a lot of things that you say, I need to work on that by myself. But don't beat yourself up for those things to think that you caused them to cheat. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying work on you. Let them work on them. Y'all put that thing together and you move forward. Okay? So now those were all of the little steps I had that we just talked about, saying how you know you're still dealing with unforgiveness. So let's go on to the next. How to truly forgive. How do you truly forgive? So this one I have 7 steps, but they're not detailed, so I'm just going to lay them out. But this is how to truly forgive, okay? Number 1, take accountability for your own actions. Number 2, understand your spouse isn't a robot you control. Okay? They're not a button you press and they do everything you want them to do. Number 3, push your pride to the side. Okay? Number 4, focus on the future vision and the legacy that you're wanting to leave when you forgive. The legacy of your marriage, the legacy of your family. Your forgiveness in marriage weighs very heavy because it's determined on your future vision of your marriage and family and your legacy. Number 5, listen more and ask questions to clarify when you're working on your forgiveness. And knowing that you have truly forgave, you're ready to listen and you're ready to ask questions because you want to fully understand that person. Okay? Respect your spouse's opinions. Respect your spouse's opinions. This is how you know you have truly forgave. You to that point, you can do all of these things. And number 7, compromise. Marriage is not a one-sided relationship. And that is a good one because a lot of people that has dealt with infidelity and they were the person that got cheated on, they automatically think that the other person has to continuously work to prove themselves and trustworthy to that person. Yeah, they have some work to do. That's not, because they have to regain trust. But it's not a one-sided relationship. You still, the person that was cheated on, still have to do their work. They still have to work, with that other spouse. They're not just sitting there and just reaping because that person has done them wrong. And they're not giving anything out. They don't want to give out no love. They don't want to give out a thank you for what you've done today. They don't want to give out any appreciation because they feel like he's supposed to do that or she's supposed to do that. They did this to me. They did that to me. So I'm going to just sit here on my throne and reap everything that they took me through. You can't do that and say that you truly have forgave. Can't do that. You can, but it's not going to be good for your marriage. So when you're saying that I'm truly willingly to go through a full forgiveness process and truly forgive in my marriage, regardless of any circumstance, you really got to know what you have said out your mouth and be ready to stand on it, because it's not as easily said than it is with the actions that comes behind it. Okay, so I got a little conclusion here that I have on how to know you have truly forgave as a wrap up. Now, this is a good one that I thought of. Now, this is the wrap up. This is the shebang. Because we're talking about what goes on in the mental, what goes on in your mindset. So you really, really, really want to put a cap on this after all the steps that we've talked about. Everything that we have in this overall picture. How to know that we're still dealing with unforgiveness. How to know if we truly forgave. This is the shebang right here that came to me. No one, no TV show, no book, anyone else's experience would take you back to the feeling you had when you were dealing with unforgiveness. That's how you know you have truly forgave. Nothing and no one will move you if that topic of conversation comes about. And I've seen people watch TV shows and they get so in depth in TV shows, and if they experience something that these people are going through on TV, they have mentally put themselves back to that same place they worked from getting from infidelity or any type of situation. They put themselves right back in there. It could have their experience with infidelity, or a big disagreement that they had with their spouse. It could have happened years ago. But someone can bring it back to surface. And that person, if they're dealing with unforgiveness, they got that same feeling all over again as if it just happened the other day. So when you know you have truly forgave, you're not going to be moved about anybody else going through this experience that you previously had. No TV show, no nothing going to move you. You're going to be trying to help them get through their situation in a positive way. But it's not going to make you reiterate your experience. And to me, that's a big one. To know like, hey, I have truly, truly, truly have forgave. And I have healed from what had taken place previous before. Your focus have shifted into a new direction of complete forgiveness and healing. You'll see a whole different spouse. When you have truly forgiven your spouse, in your eyes, they're a whole different person. That's your boo. That's your main squeeze. Can't nobody tell you different. You're going to admire them, and you're going to exalt your marriage because you're not dealing with unforgiveness anymore. Okay? Don't hold on to unforgiveness. Don't hold on to unforgiveness. It's just not good for you, period. And as I discussed in my first video with unforgiveness in the dating process and after dating, the forgiveness is for both of you. It's for both of you. It's for you to be able to heal and be 100% in your marriage. And then it's also for the other person, because sometimes that person that has done the wrongdoing, that forgiveness in you is going to set them free, because they're dealing with a lot of things on their shoulder of the embarrassment and the conviction that they're going through. So the forgiveness is for both parties. And that's the only way that you're going to continue on healthy, whether it's apart or it's still in the covenant. You have to be able to move on in a healthy manner. Okay, that's my video, y'all. Thank you for tuning in. I really, really enjoyed speaking with you guys, and I hope that you all enjoyed this message I had for you tonight. My next one is going to be on forgiveness. Have you truly forgave? Dealing with children, young adults, adolescents. So if you have kids that you've been through some things with, you do not want to miss my next video. We're talking about forgiveness when dealing with children. If you have enjoyed the video, please hit like, please share the video, and please subscribe to my channel, Tea Talks with Joe. I appreciate your time on this Sunday night, and you all have a wonderful, wonderful night, and talk soon.